Some breaking news out of Washington, D.C. The House of Representatives has failed to pass a stopgap funding bill that would have averted a partial shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security at midnight. We are going to have more on this story coming up shortly on Arise America. Earlier this week, Hillary Clinton spoke in Silicon Valley about the tech industry's problem of both equal pay for women and keeping women employed in what has been described as a frat house type of industry. Kunbi Tinuoye, CEO of UrbanGeeks.com, joins us now by Skype. Urban Geeks is an African-American digital news platform focused on technology, science, and business. Kunbi, welcome to Arise Exchange. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Let's start with Mrs. Clinton's comments about pay discrepancy and income inequality in Silicon Valley. Why does that exist? It's a problem nationwide between women and men, but why particularly in the tech industry?
Well, it's really interesting, actually, because when you think of the tech industry, you think of it as a very kind of innovative environment, very kind of futuristic, a cool environment. But for
and a progressive environment, right? The politics is relatively progressive.
Absolutely. And you know, when you think about Silicon Valley, you think about it as being a very progressive environment. But at the same time, you know, there's huge problems within the Valley and within the tech industry. Women are lagging behind.
And specifically, women will join Silicon Valley and then get driven out. And there's a few lawsuits going on, basically alleging that this is an all-boys environment. And, you know, let's be honest, it's a lot of young men in their 20s. And I imagine that is part of what's going on here.
Absolutely. You know, there's been various studies that show that, you know, ambitious women, you know, women from very academic universities, high flyers, come into the tech industry full of enthusiasm and optimism. But by the time they hit mid-career in their 30s, they drop out. So for me, really, the issue is about the culture. There has to be something happening within these corporations that is making women leave.
Yet you have Marissa Mayer, the head of Yahoo. You've had a woman as the head of HP. Are they not doing enough to change the environment?
Well, you know, obviously we do have, you know, some of these, you know, high-profile figures that everyone can talk about, like, you know, Sheryl Sandberg or Melissa Meyer. But that's just, you know, these are just a few people that actually break through. I mean, when you kind of look at the tech industry, there are so many factors why women don't stay. I mean, you know, think about it. When you think about work, really, it takes up so much of your time. You need to be in an environment where you're comfortable. And what's happening is, you know, women are in these environments, very kind of male-dominated culture. You know, they're experiencing a lot of systematic bias. And I think the big factor why women actually leave is they're not really getting the promotional opportunity that they deserve.
Well, there's also a lot of criticism about the education system for both minorities and women in what we call STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, that there's simply not enough women and minorities entering these industries.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a whole discussion about the pipeline issue, women, minorities, particularly African Americans and Latino, not actually coming into the profession, not taking the right kind of degrees, or not even entering the career. And there is, obviously, that is a big factor. But at the same time, you know, as well as talking about the pipeline issue, there also has to be a real sort of discussion about the culture inside these organizations.
And what are you therefore doing at Urban Geeks to try to address this issue, and what can others learn from you?
Well, you know, I think that one of the big things that needs to happen is there needs to be a really honest and open conversation about these issues. You know, really, you know, it's up until really recently that we weren't really talking about it. It was only really until last year when the major tech companies released their figures, you know, that showed that there were no women. Well, I mean, let's specifically, very few minorities and very few women in the kind of top jobs that, you know, that it's really become an open discussion. When it comes to Urban Geeks, you know, I set this organization up, set this website up this year because I just felt that there was a really big gap in the market. When I looked at a lot of, you know, African-American websites, even Latino sites, there was a lot of emphasis on entertainment, race and various issues. But there wasn't really, you know, a platform that was really talking about technology. Okay. You know, so you know, so for me, really, Urban Geeks is just really about just getting some of the stories out there so people can really sort of see what's going on in the industry.
Kunbi, thank you so much. Fascinating. We'd love to have you back on again soon.
Thank you.
Wow, a fiery show today. Byron Allen certainly bringing it and raising the temperature in here. Monday on Arise Exchange, my big fat Greek crisis. Our half-hour special on the state of Greece's economy and what this means to the rest of the world. Let's take a look at the markets once again for the week. The Dow and S&P 500 losing a little bit, the NASDAQ up a little bit. I'm Andrew Schmertz. Have a nice weekend, everybody. See you on Monday.